Hello there everyone, it's Lisa here, and it's been a while since I've made a video here on my channel, but today I'm going to be creating a card with the Hero Arts Lots of Love stencil, and I'm going to be doing what I call the spotlight stenciling technique. So we're going to start off by die cutting a panel of Azalea cardstock using the Hero Arts Nesting Rectangle Infinity dies. And I'm going to start off by dry embossing this panel. Now I'm using the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. My sandwich is the platform base plus the platform top. I'm then going to put down the embossing pad, and I'm then going to lay down my panel of cardstock. On top of that will go my stencil, and then to make sure that I get a really good emboss, I'm going to add a couple of paper shims on top, and finally the grey adapter plate. And I'm just going to run that sandwich through the die cutting machine. And once it comes through the other end, I'm going to carefully remove the stencil and the card panel. I don't want that stencil to shift at all because I'm going to be doing some ink blending. So I'm just going to tape that from behind. I'm going to start off with my lightest ink colour here. This is Azalea, and I'm going to start blending that colour from the outside of the panel towards the centre, but I'm going to make sure that I leave some of the centre of that panel free of ink. Now, because I'm using Azalea cardstock and Azalea ink, it is actually quite hard to see where that ink is going on. You can see that much more in real life, but as I start to build the colour up, you'll start to see the change in the colour of the cardstock. Because I've got all that lovely raised embossed area, the ink is now going to sit on top of that. So that is just darkening those raised areas, and I'm going to go all the way around the outside of the panel, making sure to leave that centre portion clear. I have sped up the footage a bit because there is quite a lot of ink blending on this panel. So I'm going to move on to my second colour now. This is Raspberry Jam Core ink, and it's one of my favourite pinks. It tones really well with Azalea. So I'm now going around the edge of the panel once again, and I'm just bringing the raspberry jam in towards the centre, but not quite as far as I came in with the Azalea. I want to try and get a gradient out from the centre of that panel. It's quite hard to see the difference on camera, but you can see it much more in real life. You can really see how far that colour is coming in towards the centre. And I'm going to finish off with my darkest colour, the black here, and this is Intens-ified black ink, and I'm using a smaller blending brush here, and I'm just literally going to go around the edge, the very edge of this panel. So I really want that dark edge, which is going to make all those other colours pop and make the centre of that panel seem even lighter. So just finishing off the black here, and then I'm going to go back in with the raspberry jam and just go back over the black just to make sure that I'm getting a really nice transition between the raspberry jam and the black ink. And that brings us to the end of the ink blending. And I'm now going to carefully remove the panel from the back of the stencil, and you can see that central area there that has just been left completely clear of ink. So just wiping my surface down, you can really see the texture close up. It's quite hard to see on camera, but when you run your finger over that, it's a really nice embossed feel. And of course you've got the added interest with the ink blending as well. So we're going to move on to our focal point now. And I'm using the Love and Hearts Fancy dies for my focal points. This is a really pretty little die set. It cuts out 3 hearts. I've taken the liberty of die cutting off screen 2 pieces in white cardstock, and I'm now going to cut some of the hearts separately from Azalea cardstock. So I've run that through my die cutting machine twice, and I'm just going to pop out all 6 of those hearts. I've placed them all onto my sticky mat, and I'm going to now blend raspberry jam core ink over them. I'm going to be doing a little bit of die cut inlay, and I wanted these to be a really dark pink. Before I can go ahead with the die cut inlay, I need to adhere my 2 white outline die cuts together. So just adding some precision glue onto the back of the first one, tapping off the excess, and then I'm going to put that down on top of the second die cut. And because I'm using wet adhesive, I do have a little bit of time just to move those die cuts around to make sure that they're really joined up and sitting together perfectly. And I'm going to repeat the process by adding glue to the bottom of that little stack, and I will tap off the excess once again before I add this onto the center of my stenciled panel. So I'm just aiming to put it in that area that's been left free of ink. So just wiggling that around to make sure I get it in exactly the right place. And now we're going to go ahead with our die cut inlay. So just adding some precision glue into each of those areas before I drop those hearts in. I did actually only need to ink blend 3 of the hearts, as the bottom 3 won't be visible, but I wanted to have 2 layers of hearts in each section because there is 2 layers of the white die cut. So I want to make sure that when I run my fingers over that die cut piece, it will feel flat. I always enjoy a little bit of die cut inlay, and this doesn't take long at all. So I'm now going to add that panel onto a top folding A2 white note card. So I've put some foam tape onto the back, and I'm just going to position that down. And now we're going to go ahead and finish off with a sentiment. So here I have got the Loving Sentiments strip stamp set, and I am white heat embossing that bottom section onto pitch black cardstock. So I've done that off camera, and I'm taking the Sentiment Strips Fancy die. I'm just going to tape that down, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, and it cuts out all of those sentiments all in one go. So I've selected my sentiment, I've trimmed it down, and I've added a little bit of foam tape onto the back. And as my foam tape is white, I'm actually going to go around the edge of that with a Copic 100 marker. This is going to darken those edges, and it's going to make it less visible if you're looking at the card in any details. So the foam tape is white on a black cardstock, so it does stand out. This isn't essential, it's just a nice little touch to make it look a little bit more finished. And I'm just positioning that sentiment down now across the hearts, just wiggling that into place, making sure that it's straight. And that brings us to the end of the card. So I hope that you've enjoyed seeing these 2 stencil techniques today, and that you'll give them a try. I hope to be back with a video soon, but in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.